So we got to talk about something that I didn't think that I would ever see, right? Coming from the Democrat Party, but I guess it kind of speaks to the desperation of the Democrat Party, but then also it also speaks to exactly where I said the Democrat Party was eventually going to have to go. Excuse me. Now, in this first clip, I came across a woman by the name of Katie Porter. Some of you might be familiar with Katie Porter out of California, aka California. She's running for governor of California. She recently had a big scandal concerning how terrible of a person she genuinely is behind the scenes. She was projected to easily win the governorship of California until that whole scandal broke, and then she dramatically fell from the top, and I believe two Republicans are still in the lead, which is another story that I thought about talking about, but got sidetracked. If you guys aren't familiar, it looks like two Republicans may be running for governor of California just based upon how they run their elections in California. Now, do I think it will happen? No, I think there will be a Democrat that kind of rises through the ranks, but right now it's the top two wins, and because there's not many Republicans, the vote isn't being split as much between Republicans. There's basically only two. If there's only two, then, they're going to be sitting at the top while there's, 10 Democrats who are splitting the Democrat vote. Katie Porter happens to be one of them. I believe she's the second leading Democrat, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of backstory and information on that. Now let's get into Katie Porter, who seems to be desperate to try to get that governorship. Take a listen to what she had to say recently. Check it out.
I think Californians have been conditioned to think that the only thing that can ever happen is taxes go up. Not when I'm governor. I'm going to eliminate California's state income taxes for families making under $100,000. Why? Because that is a real affordability solution. That's thousands of dollars back in people's pockets. It will help them not need social supports and social programs. How can we make life in California affordable for people who are here now, for the next generation of Californians, and for that workforce that we need to attract?
So it will help them not need any social services, which is exactly what Republicans have been saying for a very long time now. But we've all been called crazy. Oh, we only want to help. We only want to help the rich. And here you have her coming out with this. Crazy. Which is also, I might add, a Republican idea to not tax. I believe Steve Hilton is one of the Republicans running in California. He had the idea of not taxing folks under a certain income. But one of the other things that I found interesting about this whole thing, because of course I kind of went down the rabbit hole of taxes, and I found another Democrat who was proposing the exact same thing. It's kind of interesting. Not long ago, on March 9th, this article was pinned, and it says, Senator Cory Booker proposes Keep Your Pay Act, eliminating federal income tax on the first $75,000. Interesting how that works. Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey, facing... there's some motivation there. Kind of interesting how that works. Kind of seems and sounds like something that Senator John Cornyn is doing now, changing up his tune just to get reelected. And then as soon as they're reelected, they go right back to who they are or who they've always been. Interesting. Let me throw this back up on the screen. His re-election campaign in 2026 announced a new tax cut bill, the Keep Your Pay Act, that would eliminate federal income taxes on the first $75,000 of income for most households and expand key tax credits for working families. Booker's plan increases the standard deduction to $75,000 for married couples filing jointly, with proportional relief for single filers and heads of household, reducing federal income tax on the median American family by an estimated 85%. What do you know? Democrats completely changing their tune all of a sudden right before, they want to get elected or be reelected. In Katie Porter's situation, she wants to be elected governor. In Senator Cory Booker's situation, he wants to be reelected because not long ago, this same guy, Cory Booker, right? Because of course the internet lives on forever. This same guy, Cory Booker, was advocating for more taxes. This is back in 2019, not long ago. Check it out.
1969.
Yes.
How do you make a pitch to voters? The economy's thriving. Let's get rid of the president.
You don't need to make a pitch. Listen to voters. When we walk around my block, you ask people if the numbers that Donald Trump touts are really making a difference in their lives. You have people on my block. I'm the only presidential candidate that lives in a low-income inner-city neighborhood. Talk to folks, and they'll tell you, I have to work 2 jobs just to try to keep myself in housing. And by the way, that housing doesn't reflect the dignity of my family. Americans are struggling. Their wages are too low, or decades low. For the last 4 decades, I don't think they've budged that much.
They've gone up 3%, which is more than it ever went up during Obama.
But again, first of all, Obama, I love that Trump is taking credit for a recovery that started under Obama, but the substance of this, who is this economy going to work for? And we had a tax plan that was all about giving the wealthiest people more of a break. My vision for this country is that we will target things like a massive increase in the earned income tax credit to actual workers. We've got to make sure that this is a shared recovery, because right now it definitely is not.
What do you say to somebody who says, yeah, I'm not crazy about Trump, but the economy has done so much better, and Republicans keep telling me the Democratic nominee is going to raise my taxes, and he is talking about raising taxes, so that might hurt the economy, that might hurt my bottom line. What's the counter argument to that?
Look, I think that we live in a nation with far more patriotism than people are expressing, and what I mean by that is folks want the best for their country. And they know that if your family doesn't have a great public school for your kid, if your family does not have great access to health care, then we all are suffering as a result of that, and often creating greater costs. As a chief executive of this city, I saw that us treating addiction and mental illness with jail and hospital emergency rooms was a far more expensive way to do this. And so I'm going to run a campaign that speaks to all of America. I don't think Democrats should be defined by just beating Republicans. We should be defined by uniting Americans. And this is a moment where across this country, from farm towns to factory towns, from cities to suburbs, we have so much common pain where Americans are seeing, from the cost of prescription drugs to the cost of college, that we are all hurting because we have not designed an economy that invests in each other.
Let's talk about education, because you just raised that.
So yeah, we can tax people more because they're patriotic, so they'll understand. No, Cory Booker, no. I mean, I am patriotic, but I'm not giving you more cash. I need all mine. Y'all take enough, okay? As a matter of fact, take less. God damn it. You know what I mean? This is crazy. But that was in 2019. 2019, guys. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. You know what else I find crazy? Is that they're in like this crossroads, right? You got Democrats who are up for re-election and trying to be elected, excuse me. They're talking about cutting taxes, while Democrats who have just been elected, i.e. Abigail Spanberger, is it Spanberger or Spamberger? I'm not even trying to be funny. I think it's Spanberger. I talked about how her and the Democrats in Virginia were proposing like all of these different crazy taxes. They want a delivery tax. So if you order something from Amazon, they want a new tax on top of that. They want a food delivery tax. So if you get your food delivered, they want a tax on top of that. They were proposing, granted these aren't like set in stone, but they were proposing like all of these different crazy taxes. It's just like, yo, this is crazy. And then when you look at somebody like Zoran Mamdani, it's basically the same thing.
Wants to change New York's estate tax. That would hurt middle-class New Yorkers in a huge way. An estate tax is a tax on money or property someone leaves behind when they die. So just think about all those families, middle-class families, they worked hard, they then passed on what they had to their children. Those children get the benefit of all their parents' hard work, and they're going to try to go forward. You know what he wants to do? Well, right now, estates worth less than about $7 million don't pay a New York estate tax. So that means just about everybody. Mamdani wants that number dropped to $750,000. Now, in New York, that may sound like a lot of money, and it is. However, what if they left you a house? Now you're going to pay what? He also wants to raise the rate of how much the state could take from 16% to as much as 50%. That's a lot. Mamdani is looking for help from the state legislature in raising money to close a $5.4 billion budget deficit from fiscal year that begins in July. Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne.
Lowering it to that threshold, they're going to continue to pound as much money out of their constituents as possible. But what's shocking to me is that these people keep getting reelected. I don't understand the logic in that. And as far as New Yorkers, California, Virginians are concerned, if you are voting for these people, don't be shocked when they do exactly what they say they're going to do, which is tax the ever-loving bejesus out of you.
The Washington Post editorial board says Mamdani offered voters a simple proposition: let him punish the rich and he could deliver a socialist utopia. The city's residents are quickly learning that their inexperienced mayor had a more expansive definition of rich than they realized. Madison Allworth of Fox Business.
By rich, he meant you. It's the same thing going on in Chirac, aka Chicago, where Mayor Brandon Johnson is having to raise property taxes to try to cover the deficit because so many businesses and wealthy individuals just up and left. Like, no, bro, you're not about to tax the crap out of us. We out of here. It's the same thing going on in New York. Same thing gonna happen in Virginia. It's the same thing happening in California. You see it all over the board, but these same folks who propose this kind of stuff, when it's time for them to be reelected or elected, they have a completely different tune, it's just absolutely wild. I don't understand how people are so easily tricked. Maybe it's because, obviously, we all have lives, and a lot of people just don't pay attention to politics. So when somebody like a Katie Porter or a Booker, Cory Booker, excuse me, I was like John Booker. That's not. I was thinking of John Cornyn while thinking of Booker at the same time because I was about to get to John Cornyn. Like Booker, like John Cornyn, for example, also a Republican, when they spend buku bucks on these ads that are running all over people's televisions and they haven't really been paying attention to politics, it probably convinces them, all right, John Cornyn is probably a good guy. He spent $70 million to convince people of that to only win by barely over 1%. But hey, if it works, it works. I don't really like it. I thought those days were over with. That's my mistake. I was clearly wrong on that. Because clearly you can still buy elections, right? Unfortunately, I thought after Kamala lost, after $2.5 billion was spent on her behind, that those days were cooked. But apparently they're still here. Not to the extent that they used to be, but we have seen if you're willing to spend enough, you can probably buy your way into winning an election. And we saw that with John Cornyn. We'll see what happens in the runoff in May. I believe it's in May. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Crazy stuff. How they flip-flop, when it's time to be reelected, cut the taxes. But once they get reelected, guys, we're going to have to raise property taxes. We're going to have to add a tax on top of your Amazon delivery service. We're going to have to add a tax on top of this, a tax on top of that. If you buy Hulu, Netflix, or any of that, we're going to have to add a tax on top of that. It is so crazy, man. The flip-flop is wild. Absolutely wild. But y'all get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.